Greetings, curious minds. Welcome to an intriguing journey where we set out to separate historical truth from captivating fiction, as we debunk the myths that have surrounded the enigmatic world of the Vikings. In this thought-provoking video, we will embark on a quest to unravel the misconceptions, misconstrued stereotypes, and exaggerated tales that have clouded our understanding of these fascinating seafarers. The Vikings were a part of a nation. The Vikings were seafaring people from the late 8th to early 11th centuries, originating from the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. They were known for their raids and exploration throughout Europe and established settlements in the British Isles, Iceland, and parts of the North Atlantic and the Baltic Sea. The term Viking is not associated with a specific place, but rather comes from the Old Norse language, meaning a person going on a sea journey or raid. The Vikings are dirty, wild-looking, savage men and women. Contrary to popular portrayals in movies and cartoons, Vikings actually had a high regard for their personal grooming. This is evident from the frequent discovery of combs, tweezers, razors, and ear spoons in Viking Age archaeological sites. The same sites have also revealed that the Vikings used soap, and those living in England were known for their excessive cleanliness, bathing once a week on Saturdays. This custom is reflected in the Scandinavian languages, where Saturday is still referred to as washing day or laugardagur, lordag, lordag, or lordag, though the original meaning has been lost in most cases. The word log still means bath or pool in Icelandic, though. Vikings drank from skull cups. The use of skull cups by the Vikings is not well documented, but some historical sources suggest that they used them for drinking and as symbols of status or power. Skull cups made from the skulls of enemies were sometimes used in rituals and as a way to display wealth and victory. However, it is important to note that the use of skull cups was not widespread among the Vikings, and it is unclear how common it was in their culture. The Vikings used crude and unsophisticated weapons. Vikings were known for their skill in metalworking, and their weapons were generally of high quality. They were known for their use of swords, axes, and spears, which were well crafted and often adorned with intricate designs. While they did use crude weapons such as clubs and mauls in battle, they were not limited to just those types of weapons. The Vikings' weapons were essential to their success as warriors, traders, and explorers, and they took great care in their production and maintenance. So it would be inaccurate to describe all of their weapons as crude and unsophisticated. Vikings were large, muscular guys with blonde hair. Historical records indicate that the average height of a Viking man was approximately 5 feet 7 inches, which was not particularly tall at that time. The Viking population also included individuals from various parts of Europe, leading to a diverse range of appearances within the community. As a result, Viking groups may have included individuals from countries such as Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, and Russia, among others with different appearance and hair color. However, blonde hair was considered desirable in Viking culture, and many Nordic men would use a special soap to lighten their hair. The Vikings only lived in Scandinavia. While the Vikings were primarily associated with the Scandinavian region, it is incorrect to assume that they exclusively lived there. The Vikings were seafarers and explorers who ventured far beyond their homeland, establishing settlements and trading networks in various parts of the world. Here are some key points to debunk the myth that Vikings only lived in Scandinavia. Viking expansion. The Viking Age was marked by extensive exploration and expansion. Vikings sailed across the North Atlantic to settle in places like Iceland, Greenland, and even reach North America, where they established temporary settlements such as L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada. Trading networks. Vikings were active traders who reached far-flung regions. They traveled through rivers and seas, establishing trade routes that connected Scandinavia to places like the British Isles, Russia, the Middle East, and even parts of Africa. They traded goods such as furs, amber, weapons, and slaves. Viking settlements. Vikings established permanent settlements beyond Scandinavia. For example, in the British Isles, Vikings founded cities like Dublin, Ireland, and York, England. They also settled in the Scottish Isles, the Faroe Islands, and parts of the Baltic region. Varangians. The Varangians were Vikings who served as mercenaries in the Byzantine Empire, mainly in the region corresponding to present-day Russia and Ukraine. They played a significant role in Byzantine politics, trade, and warfare, and some Vikings even settled in those areas. Viking presence in Normandy. The Viking leader Rollo, also known as Rolf, received the region of Normandy, now part of modern-day France, as a fiefdom from the king of the West Franks in the 10th century. The Vikings who settled in Normandy eventually assimilated with the local population and played a vital role in shaping the region's history. Viking influence in the North Atlantic. The Vikings' presence in the North Atlantic extended beyond Scandinavia. They colonized places like the Faroe Islands, Shetland Islands, Orkney Islands, and the Hebrides, leaving lasting cultural and archaeological traces in these regions. Cultural exchange. As Vikings traveled and settled in different regions, they interacted with local populations, exchanged ideas, and assimilated aspects of foreign cultures. This cultural exchange influenced both the Vikings and the communities they encountered. These points demonstrate that the Vikings had a widespread presence, extending well beyond the boundaries of Scandinavia. Their seafaring and adventurous spirit led them to explore, trade, settle, and interact with various regions, leaving a significant impact on the history and culture of those places. All Vikings' raids are brutal. While it is true that Vikings conducted raids and were known for their warrior culture, they also engaged in trade and commerce, and many of their raids were not particularly violent. In fact, many of the raids were simply quick, opportunistic plundering expeditions designed to capture valuable resources with minimal resistance. However, in certain cases, the Vikings do take special care in destroying items of religious values and kill churchmen, which earned them quite a lot of hatred. It is also important to note that violence and warfare were common practices in many societies during the Viking Age, not just among the Vikings. And there you have it, fellow adventurers. We've navigated the treacherous waters of Viking myths and set the record straight. Turns out, those horned helmets were just a load of bull. So next time you encounter a misinformed soul spreading Viking tall tales, arm yourself with the truth. Remember, the Vikings were more than just plundering warriors from Scandinavia. They were a seafaring force that shaped history across the globe. So grab your shields, hoist your sails, and let's embark on a journey of knowledge together. Until we meet again, may your mead be sweet, your longship swift, and your Viking facts mighty.